All right, so get ready, because we're about to dive into something big, potentially huge even, a technology that could completely rewrite the rules of global finance.
No kidding. And when you say rewrite the rules, you're talking about a technology tied to a market that's worth like, what?
We're talking about XRP and the world of derivatives.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot.
That's right. We're talking about a market estimated at...
Wait, hold on. Before you even get there, I think some people might need a little refresher on what exactly the derivatives market is.
Oh, yeah, good point, for those who don't know.
It's essentially, think of it like, it's basically a massive market where people are making bets on the future value of things. Stocks, bonds, commodities, you name it. It's all about trying to predict where prices are headed.
It's huge, right?
Absolutely. We're talking trillions, quadrillions even. The estimates I've seen put it somewhere around $1.2 quadrillion.
1.2 quadrillion. That's like more than all the money in the world, right?
It's a mind-boggling number for sure. And the crazy part is, it's a market that's largely unregulated and opaque, which makes it a breeding ground for risk.
Yeah, and that's where Codius comes in, right? It's not just about sending money faster with XRP. It's about building smart contracts and programs right on the XRP ledger.
Yeah, Codius, you got it. It's about bringing transparency and automation to this massive, shadowy world.
So like imagine a world where these complex financial instruments that no one really understands are managed with code instead of, shady backroom deals and opaque contracts.
Exactly. That's the kind of revolution Codius could spark, at least in theory.
Okay, so we've been digging into some research for this deep dive, and there's also a JWK Show video that goes deep on Codius, and some of the connections they've uncovered are pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, for sure. Like, do you know Codius isn't even new? It's been around for a while.
Oh, really? I thought this was like cutting-edge, bleeding-edge tech.
It is, but in a way, it's also been lurking in the background for years. I mean, if you go back and look, you'll find people like Kendra Hill, real XRP insiders. They were talking about Codius years ago.
Wow, so what was the deal? Was it just ahead of its time or something?
That's one theory. Maybe the tech infrastructure wasn't quite ready for it back then, but things have changed a lot, and recent developments suggest that Codius's moment might finally be arriving.
Recent developments? So what? Give me the good stuff.
Okay, well, how about this? A June 2024 Bank of Russia report. And you're not going to believe this, but they specifically mention Codius in the context of cross-border payments.
Hold on, Russia. The Bank of Russia. They're looking at Codius and the XRP Ledger for smart contracts.
That's right. It's right there in the report.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, what could this mean for wider adoption of the technology?
Well, it's definitely a sign that major players, even those you wouldn't expect, are starting to recognize the potential of Codius.
It's like those ripples are starting to spread, right? Exactly.
But it's not just Russia either. You want to talk about ripples spreading.
Yeah.
Check this out. Nigeria is aiming to attract something like $1 billion in monthly remittances. $1 billion a month.
Okay, Nigeria remittances, I don't see the connection.
Think about it. XRP is already being used for cross-border payments in Africa. So if Nigeria wants to boost those remittance flows, they're going to need a system that's fast, efficient, and low cost.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. You're saying this could create a perfect opportunity for Codius to really take root. It's like building a more connected financial world.
Exactly. And the Interledger Protocol is playing a huge role in this. It's like creating this global financial network. Think of Codius as the next layer, building on top of that foundation.
Okay, I'm with you. This is starting to sound incredibly promising. But let's talk about that JWK Show video again.
Yeah.
Because they make a pretty bold prediction about Codius, right?
They do. They actually say that Codius could push the price of XRP to $10,000 or more. Can you imagine that?
$10,000 per XRP. I mean, that would be insane. But those price predictions, they're notoriously unreliable.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's fun to think about those kinds of gains, but it's important to stay grounded.
So what's the takeaway here? Should people be rushing out to buy XRP based on this?
I think the takeaway is that Codius has the potential to be a game changer. It's a technology that could disrupt the status quo and unlock a whole new world of possibilities. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to focus on the technology itself and its real-world applications.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's break it down. Why are people so excited about smart contracts? What makes them different from, regular contracts?
Well, think about it. Traditional contracts, they're a pain. Mountains of paperwork, lawyers involved, delays, and the whole system is built on trust, which, let's be honest, can easily be broken. Smart contracts, on the other hand, are completely different. They're self-executing agreements, meaning they automatically enforce the terms that are written into the code. No more relying on third parties or hoping that everyone will keep their word.
So it's like having a digital lawyer built right into the agreement.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're buying a house. Instead of relying on banks, lawyers, and piles of documents, you could have a smart contract on Codius handle everything automatically. Once the conditions are met, boom, the contract executes itself. No more waiting weeks for paperwork to clear or worrying about someone backing out of the deal at the last minute.
Wow, that's incredibly efficient. No more escrow headaches or shady real estate agents trying to pull a fast one.
Exactly. And it goes way beyond just real estate. Think about supply chains, voting systems, insurance, healthcare. Any industry that relies on agreements and transactions could be transformed by smart contracts.
Okay, I'm starting to see why Codius is such a big deal. It's not just about money anymore. It's about automating and revolutionizing entire industries.
That's the real power of Codius. It's not just about improving what we already do. It's about creating entirely new possibilities that we haven't even imagined yet.
But hold on a sec. You mentioned earlier that Codius might have been ahead of its time. What's changed since its initial development to make it more viable now?
That's a great question. You see, back when Codius was first being discussed, blockchain technology was still in its infancy. The world might not have been ready to embrace smart contracts on a decentralized ledger.
So it's like the world has finally caught up to the vision of Codius.
In a way, yes. Blockchain technology has matured a lot in recent years, and people are starting to understand its capabilities better. This growing acceptance has created the perfect environment for Codius to potentially flourish.
It's all about timing, right? It's like waiting for all the pieces to fall into place. And one of those pieces you mentioned earlier is the Interledger Protocol. How does that fit in with Codius?
The Interledger Protocol, or ILP as it's often called, is crucial for unlocking Codius's true potential. Think of it like the glue that connects all these different payment systems together. It doesn't matter what underlying technology they're using, ILP allows them to talk to each other and transfer value seamlessly.
So it's like a universal translator for the financial world.
Exactly. It creates a truly interconnected financial web, which is essential for Codius because it means smart contracts can interact with a wide range of systems, expanding their reach and functionality.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Codius, smart contracts, the Interledger Protocol, XRP. It's a powerful combination with the potential to transform how we think about money and agreements. It's like the foundation for a whole new financial system.
Absolutely. And we're just at the beginning of this journey. It's going to be fascinating to watch how Codius evolves and what kind of impact it has on the world.
Speaking of impact, let's get down to brass tacks here. For our listeners who might be new to all this, can you give us a real-world example of what using Codius for something like cross-border payments would actually look like?
Sure. Imagine you want to send money to a friend overseas. Traditionally, you'd have to deal with banks, exchange rates, fees, and those annoying wait times, right? With Codius, you could create a smart contract that automates the entire process. You'd simply set the conditions like your friend providing their account details, and once those conditions are met, the transfer would happen instantly and securely on the XRP Ledger, completely bypassing all those traditional intermediaries.
So it's like having a direct line between your accounts, cutting out all the middlemen and their fees. That sounds incredibly efficient.
It is. The transfer would be fast, transparent, and much more cost-effective than traditional methods. Plus, since it's all handled by the smart contract, there's no need to rely on trust in third parties. The code takes care of everything.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. I can see why people are excited about the potential of Codius and XRP. But it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages, right?
Absolutely. Technology adoption takes time, and there are still some hurdles to overcome. For example, we need to see more widespread adoption of the Interledger Protocol, and developers need to build out more real-world applications for Codius.
Right. We need to see Codius being used to solve real-world problems before it can truly reach its full potential.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just talk about it. We need to see it in action. So you mentioned hurdles. What are some of the other challenges that Codius and XRP might face as they move forward? I mentioned regulation is a big one.
Oh, absolutely. Regulation is a huge factor in this space. Governments and regulators worldwide are still grappling with how to classify and regulate cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. There's a lot of uncertainty, and this lack of clear guidelines can make it difficult for businesses and developers to operate.
Right. It's like trying to navigate a constantly shifting landscape. Yeah. And what about security? We're talking about smart contracts potentially handling vast sums of money. How can we be sure these systems are secure and tamper-proof? I mean, we hear about hacks and exploits all the time in the crypto world.
You're right to be concerned about security. It's absolutely critical in this space. The good news is that Codius benefits from the inherent security of blockchain technology. The XRP Ledger, for example, is decentralized, meaning there's no single point of failure. And the use of cryptography ensures that transactions are tamper-proof. It's like having a digital fortress protecting your assets.
Okay, that sounds reassuring. So it's like a digital fortress, but one that's constantly being reinforced and upgraded to stay ahead of the bad guys, right?
Exactly. Of course, no system is 100% foolproof, but the underlying technology provides a very strong foundation for secure transactions.
Okay, I'm starting to get a clearer picture of both the potential and the challenges surrounding Codius and XRP. But we still haven't fully addressed that $10,000 plus price prediction. Can we unpack that a bit more? I mean, it's hard to ignore a number like that.
Of course. But remember, any price prediction should be taken with a grain of salt. While Codius has undeniable potential, translating that potential into specific price movements is extremely difficult, if not impossible. It's like trying to predict the weather months in advance.
So you're saying we shouldn't take those predictions as gospel, even if they come from respected sources.
Exactly. Market dynamics are complex and influenced by countless factors, many of which are impossible to predict. Remember, even with groundbreaking technologies, adoption takes time, and there are always unforeseen challenges and roadblocks along the way.
Okay, so while we can't just blindly follow those predictions, it's clear that Codius could play a significant role in shaping the future of XRP and maybe even push its price to new heights.
Without a doubt, it's a technology with the power to revolutionize finance and empower individuals and businesses worldwide.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into Codius and XRP. We've explored its history, its potential use cases, the role of the Interledger Protocol, and even that eye-catching price prediction.
And we've highlighted the importance of approaching these topics with a balanced perspective, understanding both the incredible potential and the very real challenges.
Exactly, but we're not done yet. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll take a closer look at the technical details of Codius, exploring how it actually works and what makes it unique.
We'll also delve into the competitive landscape, examining how Codius stacks up against other smart contract platforms like Ethereum. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Codius and XRP. So we've talked about the potential impact, especially when it comes to that massive derivatives market.
Yeah, and we've seen how Codius isn't just some, futuristic fantasy. There's a real history here. People have been talking about this for years.
Right, and even the Bank of Russia is starting to pay attention.
Exactly. But I think it's time to go a little deeper. What's the technical magic behind Codius? How does it actually work?
Yeah, let's get into the nuts and bolts.
Okay, so at its core, think of Codius as a platform, a place where developers can build and launch smart contracts and other decentralized applications. And all of this is running on the XRP Ledger.
So it's like a high-tech construction kit for building those self-executing agreements we talked about. Sort of like a digital Lego set for finance.
That's a great analogy. But what really sets Codius apart is its focus on interoperability and flexibility.
Interoperability. That word keeps popping up. So you're saying it's not limited to just XRP?
Not at all. Thanks to the Interledger Protocol, Codius can interact with other blockchains, traditional payment systems, even legacy financial infrastructure. It doesn't discriminate.
So Codius is trying to bridge the gap between the old financial system and the new world of crypto.
It is, and that's where the flexibility comes in. Codius supports multiple programming languages. This gives developers the freedom to choose the tools that best suit their needs.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all platform. Codius is more like a toolbox, right? Developers can pick and choose the tools they need to create custom solutions for different industries.
Exactly. And this opens up a world of possibilities, way beyond just cross-border payments. Imagine using Codius for supply chain management, for example.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Supply chains can be so complex and opaque. How could Codius bring transparency to that?
Think of a smart contract on Codius as a digital passport for every product in a supply chain. Every step of the journey from manufacturing to shipping to delivery, it's all recorded on the blockchain. It creates a record that everyone can see, and it can't be tampered with.
So no more shady dealings or products getting lost in transit. Everyone knows exactly where a product is and where it's been.
Exactly. This is a game changer, especially for industries dealing with counterfeit goods or ethical sourcing concerns.
I can see that. It's like a whole new level of accountability. And what about escrow services? I always feel like those are so clunky and outdated.
Yeah, they can be. But with Codius, you could create a smart contract that holds funds securely until all parties have met their obligations. No more need for a trusted third party. The code does all the work.
Okay, so we're talking about disrupting not just finance, but also supply chains, escrow services. It seems like Codius has the potential to revolutionize how we handle agreements and transactions across so many industries.
It really does. But it's important to remember that Codius isn't the only player in the game. There are other smart contract platforms out there.
Right, like Ethereum, for example. That's the big one, isn't it?
Ethereum has definitely been a pioneer in this space. They have a huge developer community and tons of applications already built on their platform. But Codius has a few key advantages.
Like what? What makes Codius different?
Well, for one thing, Ethereum uses a proof-of-work consensus mechanism, which can be really energy-intensive. There are a lot of concerns about its environmental impact.
Yeah, I've heard about that. People are worried about the carbon footprint of crypto.
Codius, on the other hand, leverages the XRP Ledger, which uses a much more efficient consensus mechanism, so it's more environmentally friendly.
So faster, cheaper, and greener. Sounds like a winning combination.
It does, doesn't it? And let's not forget about Codius's commitment to interoperability. It can actually talk to other blockchains, like Ethereum.
Ah, so it's not about replacing those other platforms. It's about connecting them and creating this larger ecosystem.
Exactly. It's a much more collaborative approach, I think, and it really expands the potential reach and use cases for Codius.
Okay, this is all starting to make a lot of sense, but let's bring it back to XRP for a moment. How does the success of Codius tie into the potential value of XRP?
Well, remember, Codius is built on the XRP Ledger. So as more developers and businesses start using Codius, the demand for XRP is likely to increase.
It's like a snowball effect, right? More activity on Codius, more demand for XRP, higher price.
Exactly. And if Codius really does unlock the potential of the derivatives market, like some people are predicting, well, then the demand for XRP could skyrocket.
There's that $10,000 prediction again. We've already talked about how those predictions are, not exactly set in stone.
Right. It's all speculation at this point. We need to focus on the fundamentals, the technology itself, and its real-world applications.
Okay, so while we shouldn't get too caught up in the hype, it's clear that Codius could play a big role in shaping the future of XRP.
Absolutely. It's a powerful technology with a lot of potential.
All right, so I think we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've explored the technical side of Codius, its advantages over other platforms, and its potential impact on XRP.
And we've emphasized the importance of staying grounded, being realistic about the challenges, and focusing on the real-world value that Codius can bring.
But the journey isn't over yet. We still got some more ground to cover. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into the potential risks and challenges facing Codius. We'll talk about the regulatory landscape, the importance of security, and the big question of user adoption.
Stay tuned for the final chapter of our Codius exploration.
Welcome back to our deep dive. It's time for the final part of our exploration into Codius and XRP, and man, we've covered a lot of ground.
We've talked about the incredible potential, the technology behind it all, and how Codius stacks up against the competition.
Right, and it's clear that Codius has what it takes to build a more efficient, more transparent financial system.
Yeah, but like any groundbreaking technology, there are always challenges, and Codius is no exception. So let's talk about those potential risks and the hurdles that lie ahead.
Well, I think one of the biggest ones has got to be the regulatory landscape, right? It's still pretty much the Wild West out there when it comes to crypto and blockchain.
Oh, absolutely. Regulatory uncertainty. That's a major challenge for the entire industry.
Because governments around the world are still trying to figure out, how to classify and how to regulate these new technologies.
Exactly. And that lack of clear guidelines, well, it creates roadblocks. It makes it hard for innovation and adoption to really take off.
So are we just stuck waiting for the regulators to catch up?
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, a lot of industry leaders are actively working with regulators, trying to come up with sensible frameworks, frameworks that find a balance between fostering innovation and protecting consumers.
So it's like a collaborative effort to try and make sure these technologies can thrive without, putting the whole financial system at risk.
Exactly. And it's really encouraging to see that happening because I think there's a growing recognition that just banning or ignoring these technologies just isn't the answer.
Right. It's like trying to put the genie back in the bottle. It's not going to work.
Exactly. But even if we solve the regulatory issues, security is another big one, right? We're talking about smart contracts that could potentially handle huge amounts of money.
Yeah, if something goes wrong, the consequences could be massive.
That's why security is absolutely paramount, and Codius benefits from the robust cryptography and the decentralized nature of the XRP ledger. But like any software, there's always the risk of bugs or vulnerabilities.
So how do we mitigate that risk? How can we be sure that these systems are secure and tamper-proof?
Well, rigorous testing and auditing, that's crucial. And the Codius community is really proactive about security. They're constantly working to identify and address any potential weaknesses.
So it's an ongoing process, constantly evolving, always improving.
Exactly. But, even if we solve the regulatory hurdles and the security concerns, there's still the question of adoption. How do we get people to actually use Codius? That's the real test.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how great the technology is if nobody's using it.
Right. We need to show people how Codius can solve their problems, make their lives easier, create real, tangible benefits.
It's about showing, not just telling.
Exactly. And that's starting to happen. Developers are building real-world applications. Businesses are exploring how they can use Codius, and more people are becoming aware of its capabilities.
So there's momentum building, even if it's a gradual process.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of optimism, a belief that Codius can overcome these hurdles and reach its full potential.
And that potential is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. And as more success stories emerge, as the technology matures and the ecosystem grows, I think we'll see adoption really start to accelerate.
It's like planting a seed, right?
Okay.
You nurture it, you give it time, and eventually it grows into something amazing.
I like that analogy. So to wrap things up, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've explored the potential of Codius, delved into the technology behind it, and looked at the challenges that lie ahead.
But what's the main takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Codius represents a powerful vision for the future of finance, a future where transactions are faster, more transparent, and accessible to everyone, a future where agreements are automated and trust is built into the very code itself.
It's a future worth striving for, and even though there will be bumps in the road, the potential rewards are just too great to ignore.
I completely agree. So here's a question for everyone listening. If Codius really does live up to its potential, how will it change the world? How will it impact our lives? How will it reshape the financial landscape? Think about that.
That's a great question. Something to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive into Codius and XRP. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring the future of finance